everybody. Welcome back to Event About a Dynamic Dialogue After Show. I'm your host, Megan Martin, and I'm here today with Morgan Prewitt. And just as a quick reminder of who Morgan is, she's an accomplished event strategist and producer with deep experience leading large-scale and high-stakes programs. She's held key roles across major organizations like Amazon Web Services and McCormick Place, and most recently served as the Senior Director of Event Management and Operations for the Chicago 2024 Democratic National Convention. Her career spans complex political, corporate, and cultural events, widely recognized for her leadership, precision, and ability to deliver under pressure.
Hi, everyone.
So glad to have you here. We had a great podcast episode, so we're going to get into it. So one of the absolute favorite things about you is you're unapologetically selfish with your time and your energy.
You have to be.
And in our industry, I mean, the events are always one of the most stressful jobs in there. It's really important to manage your stress and your time. So you recently took a sabbatical after your time working with the DNC host committee. Tell us a little bit about what you did and why that was so important for you, like managing your time and energy.
Sure. I have had an amazing career. And I still am, still in the middle of it. We're still growing, right? But a lot of the events I've done and a lot of the spaces that I've been in have been high stress. And I've seen in our industry, specifically through different organizations that we're both a part of or both have been a part of, that so many people burn out or they're just not taking care of their health overall. I remember, Megan, when I was first out of college and I went to a planning organization's convening, I met this woman years before in my journey of planning events in like college and just meeting whatever. And I was asking about her and they said that she had just passed away from a brain aneurysm. And I'm like 23, 24 at the time when this happens. And I was devastated. And I still remember it to this day because I'm just like, we work in such a stressful environment that we give so much to others, but we don't give back to ourselves. So I love the work I do. I love the stress. I truly do. I thrive off of it. It makes me happy. But at a certain point, I have to step back and say, okay, Morgan, your weight is, you're getting you've gained a few more pounds than you should have, or that your body can handle, or you're being a little short with people like your family. So it's like, I asked the question, you give so much to this job, but what are you giving back to yourself and the people that you care about? And that answer came back with, I needed to take a sabbatical. I needed to take a quick break, or as I think New York Times was calling it, mini retirements. So that's truly what this was for me. It was a year of me. It was a year of what I decided to declare this year was a year of me and a year of showing up for other people. So meaning if those two things did not line up, then I did not do it. So it was farming for me. It was, losing weight and going into the gym 4 or 5 times a week. It was riding my bike on Lakeshore Drive or off the lake. It was traveling to different countries, seeing different people, meeting different people, and then truly showing up for the people that have always shown up for me. So going to visit friends that have had baby showers, weddings, and all the things that I've missed over the course of the last few years because I've been working and just being present. So that's what this year has been.
I love that. And I think the other piece to it, we get so wrapped up in our work and giving that it becomes part of our identity. And I love that you're finding all of these hobbies outside, as I'm finding myself now. Like someone asked me well, what are your hobbies? And I actually had to think about it. And I think that's why retirement seems so hard for a lot of people in the events industry, because our identity gets so wrapped up in our work and we're by nature people pleasers. And I love the next generation coming into this space are breaking so much of that down. Like there are boundaries where I think when you and I started in this career and the generation, before us, there wasn't that. And I love that people are not making their event jobs and their marketing jobs part of their identity. And you definitely spent a year doing that. And I think what comes next for you is even more exciting.
Thank you. I'm excited too.
I love it. Okay, well, we're going to take a hard left. That was a great way to start. So thinking a little bit back, our careers have taken similar paths. I have not had a year sabbatical. Maybe I need to do that here
You
soon.
amazing. You do.
But we both started on property as CSMs, have worked in political arenas, have made the jump from association into corporate and back, working in that political space. What are some of the things, having worked on all the facets of all different kinds of events, where so many people struggle making the leap from association to corporate and vice versa? What is something maybe that you learned or advice you would give of somebody who wanted to do something different and take that kind of hard left into corporate events? Like, what are skills you developed on both sides that really helped you?
Associations, because they don't have the large dollars that corporations may have. They don't have the large staff that corporations have. But associations, you're doing it all. You are helping with Reg if they need it. You are helping with Expo. You are on the show floor. You are helping with attendee journey, attendee experience. You're helping the AV person do. You are doing it all, and that is when you truly get the building blocks to learning what our industry is about and how to do events. Whereas with corporations, because they do have the dollars, they do have the people, they do have the funds, they have the exposure. Everyone wants to be a part of this big, sexy name, right? You don't necessarily build the building blocks that you would need to do an event if it was truly just you. And I've seen that the experience that I've had at associations has been so inaugural and helpful in switching over to corporate, because I know my stuff. And it's me being in the room with other people that are in the roles that I've been in twice over, because I've done it at an association. And being able to say, well, actually, I think there's a better way to do it, or there's another way we can, try. But I think with corporations, it's a much different ball game. So I would say just know your craft, learn your craft, would be the first thing. And then the second thing is make good connections. And by that, I mean, on LinkedIn, when I first had LinkedIn, I was just like, oh yeah, I can accept everybody. Sure. Everyone wants to be friends with me. And that's not truly the best way to use LinkedIn. So when I say make good connections, it's more along the lines of make meaningful connections, that people that can help propel your career forward, and things that you can also give back to them. So when someone's trying to reach out to you or wants to accept you as a friend, or you're trying to find someone else to be a mentor or a friend or a connection on LinkedIn, I'm sorry. Make sure that when you're doing those things, you're just building what your career would be. A lot of the people that I follow, the thought leaders, the people that I don't know, but that are or I make connections with, are in the tech or corporate space, because that is where the majority of my strategy mind has come from. Do the work, know your industry, and then just make connections that when it's time for you to go back to work, when it's time for you to join this large corporation, you can actually know what's going on and have the referral, have the ability to talk to this person along the way on your interview process, but build for the person that you want to be, not the person you are now.
I love that advice so much. And I've always encouraged people to take a stop on property, whether that's a convention center as a CSM. I'm a better planner and designer and all well-rounded event professional, and honestly now marketer, and able to do things because I worked on property. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I know how far I can push it before they're like, no, legitimately, we can't do this. As opposed to like, we don't want to do it, so we're going to say no. And I can be like, no, you can't actually do this.
That is our superpower. That is our key. Like, that is our thing that makes us different, is the people that have worked in opposite spaces. We're planners, we build, we do the things. But when you've worked as a CSM or been on the other side, it's like, well, thank you for telling me that. But actually, I know that we don't need this amount of electricians or teamsters, or I know we can actually open this and do this way, because I've been there. I've been that person. And it's just one of those things where when you negotiate contracts, that's the leg up, essentially, because it's like, I know actually what you're thinking. I know where your mind frame is, and this is what I am trying to do, matching with your mindset. So it is definitely our leg up, or our secret weapon.
Yeah, I agree. And thinking back, I mean, we've been friends a long time, and thinking back where we were when we first met, joining that 20 and 20 class,
Which was
and
yesterday, which was definitely yesterday.
it was
Definitely.
definitely yesterday.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is there something that you believe about events or leadership now that maybe is different from what you thought when we first met yesterday in our 20 and 20 days?
This is going to be a little shaky, so I'm going to say it politely when I let me lean in. Experience does not equal years. Experience does not equal years. Experience does not necessarily always equal years. When we first jumped into the industry, and still even to this day, you see that in a job description, or someone will tell you, like, oh, we're looking for X amount of years of experience. But what does experience look like over a shortened period of time? And I think a lot of people in the day and age that we're in may not have the years, but we've, like we said, we've been in different facets that have moved very fast paced. And we've gained, for every 1 year I've had here has equated to maybe 3 to 4 years in this other organization that you have. So it's, years don't often equate experience. Has probably been my largest learning over the past couple of years, where I've stood next to people and had conversations with people in the industry, and I'm having strategy conversation of how they can build or how they can grow or what I've done. And they're like, wow, how long? And they're thinking I've been in the industry for years, more than I have. And I just have done a lot of things. And I think we all have. We've done so much that it's no longer years. It's the type of experience that you have. It's the diversity of experience you've had. It's the diversity of events that you've worked on that truly you need to take a deeper look at. It's not just looking at the, how many years here, how many years here, or if you're quick to change a different organization, what did you gain at that organization? What did you do at that organization? What organization was it? And I think it takes a little bit more of an in-depth look at your resume or what you've done versus just saying like, oh, you've only had X amount of years of experience and writing them off for this position. So I think
Agree.
that's one of the biggest things.
Yeah, I agree. And to add on that, the same vein, that title and position do not equal leadership and vision.
Very true. Very, very true. That's another
Yes,
one. Oh
I
gosh,
agree.
yes, you're right. Yes.
And do you think, I mean, we've talked a lot about, we've both had incredible mentors in this industry. And I think the mentors that we've had have spoken similar vision. And I feel like that's probably why our careers have kind of taken this windy path, because we wanted the diverse experience. We wanted the diverse because it makes us stronger marketers and leaders in that space. Give us, if someone wanted to learn more, how did mentorship impact your career and some of the things that you've learned over your entire span of working in the events world?
um, I first want to say mentorship is one of my tenets that I stand for. We all have things that in our career, in our life, that mean the most to us. I am not in this position alone. I am standing on the shoulders of some of the strongest women I have ever met. That is my mother. That's my grandmother. That's people that I've met in the industry like Joyce Levinson, Tyra Dyson, Chinetti Hubbard, Annie Hancock, Christy George. Like, I have many strong women that I am standing on the shoulders on to say that this is where I am because of them. I am who I am because of them, because they poured into me at a young age and continue to pour into me. And it's not just career, it's life, it's relationship, it is everything that I've needed. They have been a part of. And if it's just a chat, if it's just a conversation of, I'm lost here, how do I get to here? And those small talks truly mean the most. And then just seeing where they are and where I can grow to. So mentorship is incredibly important. And I started this journey of building mentors right after I got out of college, because I knew that I wanted to be doing something great at this age in the industry when I first left college, but I needed guidance on how to get there. These women have been not just my soundboard, but they've also, been my mentor, but they've also been a role model in their career, where it continues to, okay, if they can get to this height, I can too. And it's important that when I am now at this stage in my career, I continue to lift as I climb and go back and say like, okay, these women got me here. Now I have to do my due diligence and reach back and continue to pull up women or men, anyone after me to make sure that I am doing the work that they did for me. So that is one thing I said, continue to reach as you climb, continue to look back. I have mentees that I am on them all the time because mine were. And it's like, this is what it takes to be in this industry. And this is the grind. But I've gotten some great advice. I've gotten some great mentorship. I've gotten some just great chats and experiences with these women. And mentorship, truly, I would not be where I always attest that my career is because of my mentors. That is it.
I could not agree more. Couldn't agree more. And if you're anyone who's listening or watching this, if you're looking for a mentor, please reach out to Morgan and I. Like, I will never turn down if someone reaches out asking for advice or wanting to chat or really, if you're looking for a mentor, please reach out to us. Like, I will always make the time for that.
Same. It's important. It's what I stand on. It's also, I've been a part of people who I've reached out to ask for just different random questions, just one or two chats, and they have ignored me early in my career. And I never want to be that person for someone else.
And I tell this to mentees and anyone really, if you reach out to someone asking for advice or help and they're turning you down or not responding and ghosting you, those aren't people you want in your corner anyway. That's not someone you want necessarily to be taking career or life advice from. You know, no one gets to where they are alone. And if they're not willing, I love how you say reach back, then that's not really someone I want in my like circle anyway. So move on and find someone better, honestly.
That is the truth. But yes, and it's a hard lesson you learn because you find people in your career, at least early on, and you don't quite grasp it where it's like, why wouldn't this person want to help me? I couldn't tell you, but they don't, you, like you said, you don't need them as your mentor in the first place.
Agreed. You recently did an interview with PCMA and they asked you 5 hashtags to describe yourself. And these were really inspiring for me. They were be the change, challenge yourself, do more, Black Girl Magic, which I can't really relate to that one, but I do love that it's in there, go getter, and live life. And the ones that stood out to me the most, which all 5 are incredible, is be the change and changing yourself to do more. We've talked a lot privately about how slow this industry is evolving. And there's a lot of incredible minds pushing and asking for more.
Yeah.
And we're not really seeing the results of that. So what is something that is to you officially like outdated and where you would love to see this industry start evolving at a quicker pace?
I want to start with what has shaped, like what I've seen that is the most innovative, and it kind of speaks to this. One of the things that I wasn't necessarily a part of, but happened at the DNC from a marketing point of view. The former president had, we all know he was older and it wasn't really relating to a younger generation. One of the things that the DNC did was bring in influencers, and instead of hiring a marketing consulting firm or hiring or using their internal marketing team, it was more of let's reach the people let's reach the younger generation, or building the pipeline the way that they're used to being spoken to. And it was interesting to see, because I think often we see in our industry, let's lean on our marketing team, or let's hire this marketing firm, which is nothing wrong with that. But to see a new wave of let's market differently and use people that are heavy on TikTok in the political space, and heavily on TikTok that aren't necessarily in political space, but are in adjacent, and that's the thing I think a lot of people miss, but adjacent spaces that we can pull in and have a large following and truly bring more people to the viewership. So I think that it was a very interesting to see what that looked like, to bring in 40 plus different influencers and just like see where that and how impactful it is to tell the story from a different lens of just like a marketing firm or your internal team. It brings in diverse perspectives, which truly do win out all the time. It brings in different just ways of seeing things. So I think that was one thing that was truly like new to me that would really like shook me up a little bit. But for things that are outdated, we have cookie cutter trade shows, we have cookie cutter events, and it's the keynote, it's the session, it's the expo. We know that's how you build an event. It's always been that way. But what does it look like to step outside the bounds and shake it up a bit? And maybe do something like beyond the classroom, beyond the walls, if you are a X amount of whatever association, doing it in a city that has something that you could, let's say you're a farming association, doing it in a city where you can take your constituents beyond the classroom. So I think just changing up and it's definitely harder said than done, but that's always one thing that's on my mind of how can I change up this typical cookie cutter keynote session, expo hall, whatever. And I think a lot of corporations are doing that slowly, ones that I've been a part of. And that's what really started to make me think of past organizations or corporations that have shook it up, where instead of a closing party, we're doing something where there's 50 million things going on at the exact same time, or there's like a boxing match next to a performance, next to a chicken eating contest, or just different things that are happening that are truly just trying to change the face of the way we do events. So I know it's more of like a macro answer, Megan, but I think truly just how can events get stale at times associations and corporations, a lot of people try to think, how can we make it different? And that doesn't mean putting a DJ on your keynote stage. That's not it. It's not how you change it up.
I mean, it's so interesting to me that like we have all the data in the world that celebrity keynotes just don't hit the mark, at least in the industry events for our industry, yet we still see them all the time. And sometimes I feel like we don't practice what we preach.
Yes. You're spending over $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 to bring the celebrity in, to adhere to their rider, to do the things. And it's like, for what? When you could have just had your CEO, your vice president of ops, whatever it may be, come in and speak for completely less than what you paid.
Yeah. And I think to your point about seeing influencers, and I hate that word when it comes to the business space, because you think of, the Kardashians or celebrity influencers, and like, that's not really the case, but that's where like podcasting is getting really interesting and bringing more podcast hosts in. And we're seeing what I call the festivalization of events, the different activations for everyone. You said, boxing mats next to chicken eating contest, or, having a live podcast stage where people can listen. And I think we're not leveraging influencers in adjacent spaces or even within our own industry. And watching some of the consumer shows that go on, or even the business to business shows that take that festivalization approach, they're the ones still exceeding registration goals. And having different registration formats are the ones thriving right now, versus so many groups that are struggling to attract. And I don't know that they're leveraging their own industries. Like there's so many smart people within all of them, and they're not leveraging and taking the approach of what the younger generation is used to engaging with brands. Like there's a lot we can learn from the consumer space in business to business events. And I don't think we're doing a very good job of that. And our own industry is an echo chamber of like, you're so great. And we're not actually innovating anymore.
We can talk about this for hours, but that truly is the thing. That is the thing that we see it being done in, like I said, the larger organizations. And it's like, you see it, you went to the show, you visited the show, you witnessed it, and then you tapped it out, or you had a senior leader or you had a board member saying, we can't do that because it doesn't fit in. No, you're losing membership. You need to do something drastic. Yeah. And it is, it's one of those things where I just wish people would open their eyes. And I think it's one of the things, it's a changing of the times. I think eventually it's going to get there, but it's so slow. And I think people's membership is going to die off before people can get the full grasp of no, you need to actually make this drastic change.
We shall see. So, where do you think some of that meaningful transformation is going to come first? Is it content production? Is it overall format? Like, where do you think we'll see, or advice you would have for someone who wants to start making the change? They can't make the drastic change, but maybe a small change. Where could they start?
I think it definitely does start with content. People come to shows for a couple of reasons: networking, professional development, and that includes the whole content space, right? So I think it does start with content. But then I think one thing I mentioned early on was like doing things that are beyond the classroom. There's a million ideas that I see, and I just like, in farming, I learned so much being like putting my hands in the dirt and like learning from people that are actually on the farm, taking care of the livestock. I'm like, I was thinking, I'm like, how can I bring this to an event I do next, right? Or like, if there's farming associations, are you taking people there? Are you doing something that like truly breaks people out of the normal or the monotony of putting 100 seats in a room, theater style, and having someone talk to you for 45 minutes or an hour to 60 minutes? What does that look like with breaking up? What does it look like with engaging more? A lot of people have apps with their organization, but how are you best utilizing your app when you're on event or a show site? Are you geotagging your keynote where that if the speaker asks you a question, it pops right on the app because you're in this room, this large keynote hall, and you can answer it live and give the keynote speaker data right on the spot. There's just so many things that I think we have existing that we truly could pull from that don't cost a lot. It just requires you to think out the box and make the jump, make the jump, make the jump. I say that because people just won't make the jump. And so there's small, low hanging fruit or quick fixes that I think associations especially can lean into a bit more, but it just requires unorthodox thinking. And it's not even out of the box thinking. It's throwing the entire box away and saying, all right, let's start from zero and see where we can get. Now, knowing that we already have this built out this way, let's just see if we build it again. Where can we, build better?
Yeah. And do you think some of the slow pace of change or the reluctancy to change comes from like mindset, hierarchy, fear, maybe a little of all of that?
All three.
All three?
I think hierarchy is a major player because it's the board, it's the senior leadership that ultimately makes the decision, right? That is why I am hell-bent on just getting in these spaces, because there is a need for a change in a lot of these spaces. And it's like, I think the board and senior leadership of course they see the problem. But when you think about, again, the drastic solves that need to happen, it's the slow moving ones that really appeal to them because it's less of an impact, and we may lose more attendees if we do this, or it's too much, it's too far out of budget, or it's something we haven't done before. Just do the thing. Try the thing. And if it fails, do it again. You're already not doing so hot here. So like if it fails, try it, revamp it and do it again, do it a different way the next year. So I think it's hierarchy. I think it's the changing of the times. We just see it happening, but we don't necessarily have the answers, and we're afraid of what, or I think we're honestly afraid of failing. I think a lot of people are just like, I don't want this to plummet. And then that's my job. Or it's like, well, what if you fly? So it's that.
And having worked in some very public profile positions, what are some ways that you've worked with leadership to get some of those ideas through? I mean, might be a reach of an assumption here, but given some of your past roles, the leadership of those were older, this is the way we've always done it kind of thinking. So how did you break through to like, let's just try this? And like, what method worked to get them to be like, okay, yeah, we're willing to try that?
It's really the belief that they have in you. There's no secret sauce. It's the making sure your leaders have faith in your experience and that you would not lead them astray and that you are heavily invested. I don't recall having like a negotiation or a secret thing. It's truly leaders that believe in the work that I've done, the work that I'm consistently doing, and they have taken a leap. I can think of some events that I've done, especially within the DNC host committee side, that I've built out, that it was truly my executive director saying go. And I think that was the biggest thing that I would love to tell leaders is trust the people you hire. You've put these people in this place, and yes, they can answer to a board. Yes, they can answer to you, but they are the subject matter experts. Let them do what they need to do, and they will fly. And it's just as scary for them. It's as scary it is for you. It's similarly scary for them too. But it's if they are trying to build something, it's because they have the expertise, they have the knowledge, they have the past experience, they have the ideas, and they see it happening, and they can show you what it looks like. But it's truly to let someone just be able to be free and grow. I cannot express how transformative that is for an organization where a lot of people put guardrails on their planners because fear of you're going to affect our 10,000, 30,000, 50,000 attendee base.
And some of that I think comes from us not advocating for ourselves. And
yes,
you have such a confidence about you and can speak about that very well, where not everyone is able to advocate for themselves and be like, no, trust me, and actually have people trust them. Like, how do you break through that and be confident without being cocky? Because I think a lot of, especially women, really struggle in that space of projecting themselves and asking and saying, trust me. But I don't know that they say it with their full chest because they're worried it's going to come off as cocky. And so, like, how do women navigate that? And men too. I mean, there's a lot of men that struggle with that as well. You know, how do you have that conversation?
I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. Sometimes it's okay to be cocky. It is cocky is a word. It's a word. If you're overly confident, men can be overly confident, and it doesn't affect them. But I'm cocky. I'm okay. I'm overconfident at times. Yes, I believe in myself, but I believe you need a heightened sense of believing in yourself in order to pitch to somebody else. You need to be cocky. You need to walk in there with the audacity that you are that girl and that you can do it. And that is sometimes what people lack, or women especially lack. It's come into the room, you know your stuff. You've done the work. You are the person that they selected for this role. So it's okay to be cocky. It's okay. It's okay to be overconfident and believe in yourself as long as you have the experience to back it up. Now, don't come in the room and start showing off your stuff and you're not as, your resume isn't, aligned, but just be like, lean into the stuff that you've done. And I think it took a lot of work for me where I still have imposter syndrome, and I don't hide that. I still walk into rooms like, am I supposed to be here? Yes. I'm put in every room I'm placed in, I'm supposed to be. In every table that I am around, I am supposed to sit at, and I put myself there. And it's truly like in a level of audacity that you have to just raise yourself up to. It's not a secret sauce. It's not a, look at the things that you've done in your career and say like, wow, this is who I am. Whether it doesn't have to be these big grandiose, the DNC Host Committee, Amazon, it doesn't have to be those things. It's believing in the thing that you've done and you've done well, and walking into the room saying, I own this and this is who I am and I am here to change it and this is how.
I mean, you mentioned that it's something you've had to work on. Is that something you work with your mentors on, and maybe a leadership trait that you kind of had to unlearn and relearn to come in there confidently?
All of my mentors that I named early on are that girl. They are those women. And I don't know if they suffer or if they have imposter syndrome. I would never know because of how they show up every day. But yes, they definitely have. And it hasn't been necessarily a conversation as it has been their natural presence when they walk in the room. And it's been I am going to be that. And I have focused myself on, I am going to be that. And now I am that. So, yeah, it's definitely, it's everything. It's showing up for myself. It's seeing my mentors and how they walk in their light. It's looking at my resume and looking at the things I've done and saying, no, I am qualified, if not more qualified or overqualified to be here. And I can make this decision. And this is how I want to do it. And just kind of standing on that.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes results speak for themselves and you have to stand behind them confidently and be willing to have the megaphone to say like, I know my shit and I'm here.
I know my shit. But it also, I cannot say enough that it's the people that that have been my managers. And I always shout out my executive director at the host committee, because she truly just said go. And I already had a confidence in myself, but to have someone just do the things, like just do it. I hired you for a reason. And that just it's the utmost confidence that you can have, is to know that your manager of this caliber believes in you. And they hired you. So it all goes back to the people you're managing, making sure that you're instilling in them that you trust them.
All right, let's go a couple final questions as we're wrapping up here. One thing I was curious about, having worked with the DNC host committee, producing the 2024 event, was there some level of calm because it was home base for you? Like, it took place in venues that you're familiar with and a city that you live and love in. Like, did that give you some comfort?
I built a strategy for the entire year leading up to the convention, right? Of what events we had to do, what events we had to do for media, what events we had to do for delegates, and kind of just rolled from there.
And how
Yes.
many events are we talking leading up to actual big show? Dozens,
It was just, yeah.
hundreds,
No, it wasn't hundreds. It wasn't hundreds. I wouldn't have made it through.
dozens. Okay.
But it was definitely dozens. I couldn't even tell you how many, but it was a lot, and it really wasn't even the amount of events as much as it was the overall task of what it takes to put on this event. And everything is publicized. You are always, all these events were always reported on the news. I could literally do an event and then hear about it or see it in the news, see it somewhere on Politico, see it on ABC the next day.
I mean,
It
with
was
social
a
media, it's
much
happening
different
in
time.
real time. Like, the public exposure of that is happening in real time. I mean, that's a lot of stress.
It is a lot of stress. I remember my first event that I did, and it was within, I think, 2 weeks of me joining, if that, or maybe 3. I don't even remember. It was my first event that I did for the host committee was an event, and it was engaging the media, local media. And I remember like seeing people that I've seen on TV. I think it was, oh, I'm sorry, it was national media. And I remember seeing people that I've seen on TV, and I'm like, oh my gosh, oh, okay, this is where we are. And they wanted it one of the things that the executive director and the whole entire team wanted was to make sure that the DNC proper happened with Chicago and not to Chicago. So my role was making sure that the people of Chicago, the Chamber of Commerce, the leaders felt the love. So we tried to engage all 77 neighborhoods. So a lot of the events we did were in unorthodox places that people probably wouldn't think of. Like, we've done an event far south that people probably have never went to in their time in Chicago. We've done an event. One of my favorite was I got to meet Buddy Guy. That was one of my first events, and it was with national media, and we did it at his restaurant. And I had talked to the daughter, and she was like, "Oh, he's filming," and I'm like, "What is Buddy Guy filming for?" Like, okay. Sure. He's in California. He popped up, and I like kept talking to his daughter. I'm like, well, if he can come, that would be great. It's for a larger cause. And I'm just trying to like sell it. And this is my first event. I really want to show up for the people. And he walks in the door and he's like, he asks for his drink, and he goes right on stage and performs like a 30-40 minute set. This man is probably $300,000 to book, but I don't know how much he is. I don't want to, maybe that's that. But yeah,
We're speculating wildly here. Don't quote us on this.
yeah. He's a lot. He's a multi-Grammy award-winning artist. And here he is coming on stage in front of these people, and everyone's like, oh my gosh. And then 5 months later, 6 months later, or sorry, this year, I see him in a movie, and I'm like, oh, this is what you were shooting for. You were shooting for this massive movie here. Oh my gosh. So it's like one of those things where, yes, it was great doing, an event on home turf. It was great doing it for the people of Chicago. It was great seeing vendors that I work with now elevated, doing great things, and like hearing from their exposure at the DNC, what they're able to take away or what they're able to build now. And it's been like, I was a part of this. Whereas when I've worked in traveling of different places and doing events in LATAM or EMEA or overseas, whatever, you don't see the after effects. But here I'm watching it every day. I'm going to this person's new restaurant. I'm going to this person's new flower shop because of their exposure and the level of clients that they had for activating during the convention. So it has been great. That was probably the best thing about working for the host committee, was just seeing how active we were able to incorporate Chicago.
What's something maybe the public never sees about running a political event at scale, or even a corporate event? Because they have, in my opinion, equally sometimes as tight security measures, sometimes more. What's maybe something the public doesn't know or see? I mean, For me, it's always been dealing with Secret Service. Most people will never have that in their life, and it will change the way you produce events having sat down and gone through a security plan with Secret Service. I'm curious what you would say.
It's so funny you say that. I've worked with Secret Service before in a different association events. You know, when you have like larger past presidents come to speak for a keynote. But to this extent, it's always been like for a 90-minute quick, this is how we're going to do it. We're going in and out. Okay, cool. You know,
The advance team comes the day before, they do the walkthrough, you do the plan, it's all good, and then it's out.
building one of the events that I worked closely with Secret Service was one of the welcome event for the delegates because of all of the people that were coming. And I'm going to be very honest, I don't have a political background. So it was like people that I have no idea who they are. But Secret Service.
They're like, this is a big deal. And you're like, okay, that's cool. I don't know who it is.
There's so many, oh gosh. Sorry. But it's interesting because every plan that you can put in place and thinking that you know, Megan, what you're working with your contractor security company, you're working with the venue security company, and you've built this thing, and then you bring it, or you think you have a plan of what you built, and the Secret Service comes in and truly, this is great, but this is where you have this window here is exposed. This stairwell has it's just things that you never thought about that I'm like, how does that window on the eighth floor matter? Like, tell me, how does that? But it was a different experience, but I've dealt with it in different corporations. I've dealt with an association. So it was just a more in-depth, conversation that I've had with them, but they're actually, one thing that people don't know is that they're actually great people though. Like they come in with their suits and their sunglasses and they're so staunch, and you see them, but they are absolutely amazing people to work with. At least the people I've worked with were truly, I can see myself, I still have their numbers in my phone. Like I made great lasting connections with them. We were the safest place to be. I remember someone told me that Chicago and specifically these events were the safest place to be in the United States for that week. And it was interesting because everyone was like acting out of fear, like what will happen with, the protest or like different things that may happen now that you have, a woman candidate. I've never felt safer. So I think that was the one thing, like a lot of that would be what I share is that people who came to the convention, who came to the events, the fear of people who didn't come, you were truly in the best hands in the United States.
I agree. Tell me an A-lister or political figure that you would love to see on a future speaker lineup, like someone who's secretly a dream backstage.
So my life's work I don't believe in meeting my heroes.
Why don't you want to meet your heroes?
I have met one of my heroes before, and it was not great. While she is still my hero, I understand maybe it was a stressful day and I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, but I've also heard that, not the best things. So whenever I see I've done a lot of events and I've met a lot of great people, and I actually tried not to have, thorough conversation. I want to keep it strict.
Work.
It truly is work. I don't want a picture. I've done those things early in my career and they have backfired because I don't even meet my heroes.
Yeah,
So
I never take the picture. I never ask for the photo. Like if it's offered, I will say yes, but I will never ask.
It's literally like a mental, okay, I was here. So I actually don't have, I wish I could give you someone that like I would be blown away with Michelle Obama or Oprah or anyone like I look up to, but I'm excited to just do and produce the events and definitely produce the productions. I don't really like have a particular person because I don't meet them. I don't want to get to know them. I want this idea in my head that they are everything to everyone, just because of my past experience of meeting people that I truly look up to. So there's not one person. It's truly just.
Okay, well, taking your personal hat off and putting a work hat on, someone that you would see on a speaker line and you're like, oh, thank God they're so easy to work with. I'm glad they're the keynote or the closing entertainment. Not like a personal hero story, but just like, oh, the relief kind of goes away for a minute because you're like, all right, this person's a professional and they're not going to throw me a, new panel script 5 seconds before we open doors.
This is going to sound insane, but there's a reason I'm saying it. and I think you'll understand as an event professional or event person, but um, I am going to just throw out Beyonce, and this is the reason. I am not part of the Beehive, but I think she's a great performer, a great artist. I've heard that she is incredibly professional. I know she's a diva, probably, sure, I don't know. Because of the level of work she's done, because of where she's traveled to and the expectation she has, it's kind of like working with the Secret Service, where she comes in, she tells you how it's done or what she wants to happen way ahead of time, and you just make it happen. And that's easy for us, right? It's not necessarily like a person that I would like love to work with, but it's a level of ease that I would have in doing my job because she is such a professional, and her team, specifically her team, knows exactly what they want. And the things that are out of my control, they've already dealt with this with a million other people. So they know, they come in, they come professional, they know what they want, we execute. So I think just a level of professionalism is and ease is important. So I would say Beyonce, just because of her level of work.
Yeah, the well-oiled machine. There's no guessing. You know
You
exactly what you need to do.
you can never go wrong.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, without naming any names, but what's the most unhinged request you've ever seen added to a green room rider?
No names, though, because I can't actually. I was a.
Don't say no names, but like, what's the craziest request?
I have two different artists. My first would be a hookah with weed. I didn't even know you could put weed in a hookah. That was interesting.
I mean, I guess
Um,
if you could smoke weed out of an apple, why couldn't you do it in a hookah? But I've never done it or thought about doing that. But okay,
it,
that is pretty unhinged.
it was interesting to have on show site at that. And then,
Also interesting.
and then
Because you also can't smoke inside. So, like, okay, a whole nother thing.
the things we do for the next would be $1,000 in ones and a pet bulldog. I think it was a pet American bulldog or a pet. Yeah, and it was one
A
of.
real dog, like
Yep,
a real
yep,
dog.
yep. That rider was absolutely insane.
No, no, you don't
I
have to say
will.
names.
The entire rider was insane. Like everything on it was insane. But the end of it was the pet bulldog and $1,000 in ones. And at the end of the show, we didn't get it. Did not gonna like that's ridiculous. No. Told his
Yeah,
manager,
like you just borrow someone's dog for a day in a green room that you're gonna spend like maybe an hour or two in. Like
I
what?
got a plush bulldog. I got a plush
Okay,
bulldog, and I disregarded $1,000 in ones. Like so, no. Uh,
that's pretty
but
unhinged. Like I think we all know where that's going.
exactly. So I did have a conversation with his manager, and it was one of the, it was a, the artist put it on there, and the artist was great to work with, amazing to work with, despite the writer being insane. But it was one of those things where the manager was just like testing to see if we would get it, or what we asked the questions, did we read it in its entirety? And
And
now
that's
that
where I think most of the unhinged comes from. Like the bowl of green M&Ms. Like they put it in there because like this is the famous like 80s hair band. I don't remember which band it was that always had a bowl of green M&Ms. It like it's just that mental note that as soon as you walk in the room and you see the bowl of green M&Ms, you know they followed everything else on that writer. Like that's the only reason I think people throw those crazy shits on there.
they want to make sure we read it and see how far they can take it. So I am within reason, that is who I am. So I'm like, I will, and that's what the plush bulldog, it was just cute. It was funny. I'm like, okay, we can find a plush bulldog. And we did. We went to like, I don't know, somewhere to find a $5 bulldog, small one. But yeah, that was the most interesting. But talking to the artist for the $1,000 in the plush or the real bulldog after, it was, like I said, or the manager, it was just we want to see how far we can take it. We want to make sure you read the whole writer. That's it. It wasn't a requirement, essentially. So
Yeah, those are pretty crazy. All right,
mhm.
final question. We've talked about a lot today. You've covered your career across corporate, political, cultural, global. You've done all the things. Your company is named Impact. So, what does impact look like to you now? What does that mean for you?
Honestly, Megan, it's the same that it did when I first graduated from Howard. It's not necessarily revenue, dollars, and profits. It's giving back. It's making it sound so cliche, and I hate to say it, but truly, because I am a living testament that if you give back, if you mentor people, that they will grow. Um, it is so important to me to continue to give that to others. I speak on panels. You can ask me to speak on a panel to kids, and I will figure it out, because it is important that we build our pipeline. And I think for so long, when we go to these industry events, or at least when I go to the industry, I don't know if you have the same perspective, but I see people that not only like that are, I want to make sure that I'm not missing like I don't say an age group, but I see people that are senior leadership, that are well in their career, that have been doing their career for 25, 30, 40 plus years. And it's like, well, what did you do in order to build this pipeline of millennials, of Gen Zs, of Gen Alphas? What are you doing to give back? You are well within your career. We are having a great time drinking our Chardonnay and eating our small bites. But what is it that we're doing to impact tomorrow? All of the work that you're putting in, the 40 hour or I don't know, however many hours you're, putting into your work week. What are you doing to make sure that your legacy, like what are you doing to build, to show when you retire that you brought in this person? So impact means to me, it means legacy. It means continuing to reach as I climb. It means reaching back and continuing to help those students, individuals grow. Making sure that I'm mentoring and showing up for people, making sure I'm showing up for people that are in this class, my cohort, my group of people that I work with, and just making sure that I'm always just continuing to give back. I keep saying it, my career is truly a testament of the mentors and the women that I've stood on, the shoulders that I stand on. But making sure that someone 15 years down the line, 20 years down the line can say that about Morgan. That is what impact looks like for me, is just giving back, building up, and creating legacy.
It's a great place to leave it. I mean, that is what impact is. And I thank you for sharing, and thank you for being here today. This was an incredible conversation. That unfortunately is all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning into another Event About It after show, because the best conversations start after the show ends. And until next time, stay curious.